YouTube.
Oh, I thought they were on the Facebook page.
They may be there too, but
Yeah,
I decided to put them on.
Why are you wearing clothes?
What did he say?
Why are you wearing clothes? You're typically not wearing clothes when you and Leisha and I are texting each other. Shall I share the picture that you sent us?
Yes, please.
We are recording. Stop the recording.
I have showings today, so I
goes on my face or my YouTube channel forever.
Hey,
Robert?
happy Chinese Valentine's to you guys.
Happy Valentine's.
Isn't that in February?
No, Chinese, she said.
Oh.
Happy Chinese Valentine's. Is that today, Linda?
Yeah, May 20th. They had 3 Chinese Valentine's Day. I think just too many.
No, never too many to show your love.
Of course, if you're single, Linda, yeah.
It's not a
Good
love
morning,
sharing
Nick.
day, Amy.
I'm sorry, Robert, what?
It's not a love sharing. It's a reminder if you're single.
Oh, please. You don't have to have a significant other to express your love for others. You have friends.
All right, kids. Everybody besides Nick, go on mute.
I got really nervous, like I missed Valentine's Day.
Yeah, me too. For a second there, I was like,
no wonder my wife's like walking around pissed off.
Oh, that's just normal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just a Wednesday. So.
Yeah. Valentine's is always family reunion, I think. So
that's true. That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
How you doing? Look at that beard. That is getting impressive.
Well, I don't know if it's getting impressive or completely out of control because I can't go to the barbershop.
Yeah.
But you know,
is it really two-tone?
Yeah, like 3, I think, because I have hints of red and brown and blonde. You know, multifaceted. It's like an onion. It's like me. It's like my emotions. But I my barber, her name is Catherine, and she's incredible. My stylist. And the last time I saw her was probably 2.5 months ago. She actually came to my house to do my beard before everything was like shut down. And I said to my wife, I was like, if Catherine just came over and we were on the deck and she put on a mask, she's like, no. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like this. So.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So the typical audience is around 30 on the actual Zoom. Then we've got it Facebook Live, and it will go on my YouTube channel later.
Are we on Facebook now in your group?
In our group, yes.
Okay, cool. No, that's awesome.
Sweet. And I just assume everybody knows who you are, and maybe they don't. So tell us who you are.
Well, if you don't know who I am, just leave now. No, I'm kidding.
If you don't know who he is, you've been under a rock in real estate.
No, it's okay. I'm Nick Baldwin. I am Regional Technology Director for Michigan, Northern Ohio, but I was team leader for KW Premier in Clarkston, Michigan, but I'm originally from New Jersey, from Montclair, New Jersey. And I've been in Michigan for about 2 years. We moved back to my wife's hometown when I was offered the team leader position, and just so happened to be in her hometown. So it was a good opportunity, and for her to be closer to family and for me to take on a leadership position is something I've always wanted to do within a market center. And but before that, I ran a team with my mom for about 9-10 years. And she is one of the majority owners of the Montclair, New Jersey market center. And then I kind of outgrew that. I wanted to do my own thing, so I started my own team. And then a year into that, that's when I was offered the team leader job, because I came up here to teach a class for that market center, and I got to know the OP. And then their TL stepped down, and she called me, and she's like, hey, literally like the next day, hey, do you know anyone who might want this job? I was like, are you offering it to me, or are you just asking? And my wife's like, we're moving back to Clarkston. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. And I'm also the co-founder of Lab Code Agents, which is the largest and most engaged real estate community on social media. And we do live events, and we do virtual events, and we have training and coaching and webinars. And yesterday we had Monica Reynolds, we had Mo, we have had Josh, we've had Jay, we've had everyone except Gary, and I won't stop until he says yes. But I'm just incessant. But yeah, so yeah, and I also run another group that I started about Command called Command Your Conversion, which is now 30,000 KW agents, and it's fun because I think we're really driving home, how Command is working and different ways to use it and stuff like that. But I've been in the business for 14 years and I've been licensed, and so now I'm doing what I love to do, like play around with technology and help agents learn how to utilize it better and form better relationships and leverage their business, because that's really what my passion is. So
okay, so one thing I will say on my end, it says that your bandwidth is low, and I can hear you perfectly, but you're not really moving.
Okay, let me try something, because I have like almost all my bars here. I'm just gonna switch to a different network. Can you give me 1 second?
Oh, of course.
I don't know why my internet's been doing this today. Hold on 1 second.
It's probably overuse injury.
Yeah, it's so weird because this morning I didn't have a problem. Let me connect to my hotspot.
During this shelter in place, we are all getting great opportunities to develop.
Is that better? Let me know if that's better, because I'm on my hotspot on my phone, and my phone usually has better, because we've got iPads and all this nonsense in the house. Is it better?
I can hear you, but you're still not moving. You are frozen.
I'm gonna go on my actual phone.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on my actual phone. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Let me. Almost there.
If he turns off the rest of the Wi-Fi hardware, it should be a much better connection. That's what Nikki just chimed in.
Oh, I have to choose the meeting time. There we go. Okay, it should be hooking up any second.
I think we can still hear you. Still choppy.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just, it's connecting on my phone. It took a couple seconds to connect. I think I should be in. Oh.
Okay, is that better?
There you are. Yes. So far, so good.
Okay, I'm on my cell phone. I'm just gonna put my phone right here.
All right. Whoa.
Okay, good. This is good. This will work.
Live. We love it.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for all that intro. What I find so interesting about you. Well, first I have a question. When you and Tristan started Lab Coats, did you have a vision that it would get that big and that powerful?
No. So like when we started Lab Coats, we didn't even know each other. So we had a mutual friend. His name was Steve Passanelli. And if you have been in the business for more than 10 years, you might remember a website called Tech Savvy Agent. And Tech Savvy Agent was a website that Steve Passanelli and Chris Smith, who wrote People Work and he wrote The Conversion Code, they started that blog together when they were working at Realtor.com. And then Chris left, and then Steve left, and Realtor.com still owned Tech Savvy Agent. And Tristan's office is across the hall from Realtor.com. And he asked them if he could take over the blog because they weren't doing anything with it. And they basically said no. And so he said, okay, well, that now there's this void in the industry, because it was really the only place for agents to go at that time to learn about technology and real estate. And Nikki Francis says she was on Tech Savvy Agent. It was a great blog. And so Tristan decided to just start this group, and there was clearly a need, because at first we were just sharing best practices. We didn't know each other. And Steve said, hey, you got to meet Nick, and Nick, you got to meet Tristan. And for the first 6 months, we didn't even really talk on the phone. And then the next thing I know, the group's at 5,000 members, and then 10,000 members. And then there were people who had technology companies, and they were coming to us, and they wanted to get their tech in front of agents. And we kind of got in the ground level of groups, like before it was cool. And then I said to Tristan, I was like, there might be some opportunity here. Like, this might be a business. And so we started to get sponsorships, but we're very selective with who our sponsors are, because as agents, like, we don't want to just take money from a company that makes a product that we don't believe in. And so we have a really tight-knit select group of technology sponsors that work with us regularly. They sponsor our events. They're companies in technology that we've used in our business, and we know that it works. And it evolved from there. And then we were given an opportunity to do an event. The CEO of Commissions Inc. at the time, he invited us out to Atlanta. He's like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Let's do a summit. So we did a 2-day summit. We had 150 people there, which was great, because the group had only 7,000 people at that time. And that was kind of like the jumping off point, was that summit. And now we typically do about 6 to 8 live events a year. And our 2-day events or 3-day events bring about 800 people, maybe 1,000. And our 1-day events bring about 300. But obviously we can't do them now. So we're pivoting. And now in probably Q4, we're launching a higher level subscription service of LCA, because the group is so big, right? So sometimes it's kind of hard to keep the
Things get lost.
culture.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of people who say, hey, listen, if you guys charged some money for this, like, and you guys had a model and it was value packed, like, we would pay for it. So we're doing something along those lines, where it's a paid version, but different groups split up based on production, and coaches in those groups, doing courses and classes based on that level. And then once you graduate and exceed that production, you can move to the next group. And so it's going to be more focused, and people in the group that are like-minded and do the same type of stuff, as opposed to like this free-for-all of everyone. Because there's a lot of heavy hitters in that group, but they're like, like most agents aren't doing business, so most of them don't think with a business mind. And so you get a lot of stupid posts and stupid comments. And so if we keep it more focused, I think that's going to be a game changer. So we're going to disrupt in some way, it'll disrupt some of the coaching industries, but like, look, it is what it is. There's something for everybody. If someone wants one-on-one, they'll pay $1,000 a month. If they don't, they want group coaching, they'll pay $300. You know what it is? Like, yep. We're taking things away from people. We're just giving them other options.
There's plenty of opportunity.
So,
and I didn't know if you had the vision on how big that was going to get. And I love to see, you did fill a massive void, right?
Yeah, we had to catch up. It wasn't until like 20,000 members we were like, we got to catch up and figure out what we're going to do, because, it just started to grow. And then and now we have a PR firm, we have attorneys, we have a web designer, we have a marketing company. We have, like, a lot of people don't know that, Labco's is a 7-figure business. Like, we have it's like an organization, right? But the agents see it as this group. Behind the scenes, there's all this other stuff going on, because now it's a business. You know what I mean? So,
which is so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I wanted to ask you on, you've been so vulnerable and transparent with your own challenges, right? And I've been able to observe how you've grown the business, how you pivoted and went to a leadership position and did well there, now being the director of technology, all this stuff, and family. And and you have a challenge that a lot of us don't have that you have to overcome constantly. Would you share
Right.
that with us?
Sure. So, so I have bipolar depression, anxiety, and ADHD. So I'm just a bundle of fun. But no, but you know, and I'm very transparent about it, and I think it's something that people are embarrassed to talk about. They feel like it's maybe not something that's actually real, or mostly they don't understand it, right? And so like I started to speak out on it more because I know that I have a platform, right? And so I think it's important for people who have a platform to be transparent, right? There's a difference between being transparent and being vulnerable. I think I'm transparent, and there's nothing wrong with vulnerability. I just think that you don't want to be vulnerable all the time, but it's good to be transparent, because people who are in leadership position and people who other people look up to, you know, that could save somebody, or that could make someone feel like, oh my gosh, okay, so you know, Nick Baldwin goes through this. I had no idea he goes through this, and I go through this, and I thought I was just crazy, and I thought there was something wrong with me. You know, Nick always looks like he's so happy, and things like that. And so it started to get really important to me as I got diagnosed with ADHD, which was about a year ago. And before that, I was in a really, really bad place because I wasn't diagnosed ADHD, only diagnosed bipolar depression and anxiety. And once they figured out the ADHD, then it changed the whole game for me. And I would say like 80% of the time I'm in a great mood because now I have the right help and the right medication and I'm doing the right things. But before that, I was just, you know, very, very unfocused, and I was sad because if you're unfocused, you get sad and you can't get things done. And you just, if you don't know what you're going through, it's really hard. And once you figure out what you're going through, then things get a little bit easier. And so
hang on just a second though. So you had, you know, obviously some of this diagnosis, but not the ADHD until last year. And yet you've done a little bit. You've had some pretty big accomplishments, right? Whereas some of us might just sit home and go, well, I'm a little unmotivated. We don't have those layers. How did you get to the level of success and everything you've done
it was
with those challenges?
Listen, obviously, you know, Gary says success is boring, and I love that phrase. But like, and success is not easy. Like, you know, and I can say that it's easier now because now I know what I'm going through it, because before I was so scatterbrained. And yeah, like I wasn't the greatest team leader in the sense that like with being a team leader, you have to be so so focused. Like when you're doing a one-on-one with somebody, you know, in your market center, you know, you have to be so incredibly focused. And it was so hard for me. And a lot of listen, as a TL, everyone complains about you, but they complained that Nick always seems like he's not listening to me. Right. And like, that was very, very difficult for me to take because I couldn't help it. And so once I was diagnosed with ADHD and I got on the right medication, you know, people really immediately started to see a difference. Like, yes, I was able to get myself to a certain level of success, but it was very, very difficult to like, it was still very, very difficult to get the motivation and get up out of bed every morning. And I think that like, how did I do? I mean, it's hard to say how I did it, right? Like, I don't know how, I know how I did it in the sense that, you know, you just do the same thing every day if it's working. But now that I'm more focused, I feel like I'm getting to where I need to go faster. Like I'm 41 years old. I didn't get my life together until I was 27. And I've always felt like I was behind, and I always felt like I wasn't really ever doing what I wanted to do. I was doing things that other people wanted me to do because I met my wife when I was 27. I was working as a waiter. I was on a 10-year plan at college, you know, like I didn't have any reasons. And then I met my wife and she's like, you gotta get your, you know what, together. And if you've ever seen my wife If a woman like that tells you, you just go do it. You don't even ask.
Well,
any
what's
questions.
the phrase you outran or you punted, outran the coverage?
I married up, or I married out of my pay grade. Like, my wife is like stunningly beautiful. Like, no, I'm not just saying that this is my wife. She's like way out of my league in terms of looks, but I'm much smarter than her. No, so she's very, very smart and very, very beautiful, and she keeps me in check. And so I got my real estate license, and I started to figure out but I didn't know if I wanted to do that, right? And I feel like it wasn't until I moved to Michigan, when I was offered the TL job, that I actually felt like now I was on my way to doing what I wanted to do.
And
like,
that wasn't that long ago, Nick. When was that?
It was 2 years ago. And so when I got the TL job, I embraced the technology because I love technology. And then I got a call from Josh Team, like a few months after he became president. And I did a double take on my phone to see if it was really Josh. And he was like, I just want you to know, like, you know, because he's been CTO for a while, but now he's president. He's like, I love what you're doing with the tech, and you really get it. And, you know, I want to help you, and I want to embrace you. And we need people like you to, you know, to like drive this home. And so we formed a great relationship, and they were a big, you know, when my region was looking for a regional tech trainer, you know, they really advocated for me because they need people who get it, right? And so I love Josh for that, because he really helped me in getting this role. And I don't think if I was focused at that point, I don't think I would have been able to do it, because it's a very, like, you know, I went from working with 145 agents a day to literally working with 6,300. Like, and if I wasn't on the right path and I didn't have the right help, I don't think I could have done it. I would have felt really overwhelmed every single morning. And now I'm just really focused and time blocked. And I wake up in the morning and I read a book for a few minutes, and I hang out with my kids, and I reply to emails at a certain time. I look at my phone at a certain time. You know, I'm very, very time blocked. And before, I was completely all over the place, right? And so I'm learning to set expectations more with agents. Like, listen, you know, when they email me, and Nick's taking a while to get back to me, Nick has certain points during the day in which he replies to emails, in which he returns phone calls, and which.
Oh, you have boundaries.
Oh yeah, boundaries. Before, I had no boundaries. I like let anybody and everything. Everything was of equal importance before, and now there are differentiators, right? Because before, being completely scatterbrained, everything is important, and now that I'm thinking level with a level head, because I have the right help, there are different levels of importance, right? And so that's something that I've been able to implement into my life. You know, working from home, it's great because I block out, you know, a couple hours a day here and there throughout my schedule where I can go upstairs and hang out with my kids, and I'm getting a heck of a lot more done because I'm able to just jump on Zoom calls with mega agents and have better conversations, and, you know, drive home the technology. And if I wasn't diagnosed ADHD and all three of those things came together, I don't think I would be able to do this, because I was like a miserable person to live with, ask my wife, in the sense that I was just very scatterbrained and unfocused. And then she felt like she was getting a back seat because everything felt like
else was a priority.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. And there was a couple times there where we almost separated. And then when I got that help, everything really started to come together. But I've been very transparent about what I go through, because there's a lot of people out there that go through it, and they need to know that people who are in leadership, it's okay to, like, when you're a leader, you're taught you always have to have a smile on your face when you're around your people. And I do firmly believe that. But at the same time, you also have to relate to your people. And it's okay for a leader to say, you know what, like, I'm not perfect and this is what I go through. And if you need anyone to talk to, I can understand that. And when you're transparent with them, the respect level just goes through the roof, because
it gives them permission. I just call it being human. It gives them,
right.
When somebody can see their leader be human, it gives them more permission to be human, right?
Right. Like, there's times where I'll text Josh, or I'll text Jason and I go, hey, how are you doing? They're like, oh, we're great. I'm like, no. Are you okay? Just want to check, because I know like now with everything being on a lockdown, you know, and you guys are holding the company together, I just want to make sure you're cool, because guys like that, they can't show it, right?
Right.
And so it's cool when you approach them like that, because they're really thankful. Or, you know, text, you know, you're just like, or just texting anybody. Like if I'll just text my friends and family, or if anyone's texting me, are you okay? Like, you know, the three words that are the most powerful right now to anybody is, are you okay? Right?
Yep.
Because you never know whose life you're going to change at that moment asking them that, because we're all in different situations. Like I have a 3,000 square foot house. I don't feel like I'm in quarantine because I have a big house, right? But like someone living in a studio apartment, they're going to feel really isolated, and, you know, and texting them, how are you doing? Are you okay? Or do you need anything? That could potentially change their entire outlook on life. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and be ready for the answer. Somebody asked me that a couple weeks ago on a Sunday, and it wasn't a good time, and boy, did she get it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you're going to do it, right, be prepared to lend an ear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So go back a little bit with the depression, because I've seen you post about that. Well, how does that show up for you? And I went on a walk this morning with a friend who's also an agent, and both of us just lost somebody in our lives, and we're going through momentary depression, but not clinical depression. There's a massive difference, right?
The difference is you can't just, there's no reason, right? Like, yeah, I'm sad because my dog died. I'm depressed because my dog died, right? Like there's no reason for it. So like when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like there's no reason for it. When I'm feeling anxious, there's usually not a reason. If I'm feeling depressed, there's not a reason, and that's the difference. Like if my wife says, what's wrong? I'm feeling depressed. If someone says, why? I don't have a reason. It's just, it's out of my control. And it feels like there's, and I've explained it in the sense where there's like a wall in my head, like going right down my brain. And in the front is the darkness, and in the back is the happiness. And I'm trying to bring that happiness to the front, but that wall won't move. And so that's what it feels like. And there are waves throughout the day where, you know, a minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, where it just comes over me and goes away. Whereas before it was just there all the time. And and the difference is that once you figure out what's going on and you feel that way, you know what it is, and you know how to then work through it. Whereas before, you had no idea how to work through it. So once you start to understand it and you recognize it, then you can work through it, and you know that, okay, this isn't how I'm really feeling, and it's gonna go away, and I just need to take a deep breath. I need to sit down in this chair, or I need to read a book, or I need to walk outside, or I need to put on some meditation. Like the Calm app is really great. Turn off all dings and whistles and you know, notifications on your phone. And I've also noticed that I take like 3 or 4 day breaks from social media probably every couple months, where I will delete Facebook from my phone and block it on my browser. And I will notice that really helps too, because the more negativity you see, if you have clinical depression, the worse it gets. So there's triggers, but there's like not a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but once you identify the triggers, what you're saying, that you can then somewhat set yourself up for success, right? And go and avoid those triggers.
People are just angry right now, and they're not being reasonable, and they're saying stupid things, and they're not thinking straight, and they argue just for the sake of arguing. And social media makes me anxious, and it makes me angry. And every few months I'll take a weekend off, and I'll realize like how much better I feel after that.
You may just want to plan now, like nothing from September through November.
Right, like just don't. And
take the whole election season off.
I tell people, listen, if you don't want to see anything about politics on your Facebook newsfeed, then just start clicking articles about kittens, and then you're going to see kittens, because Facebook's artificial intelligence. Like that's why I see all this stuff on my Facebook feed about, you know, Marvel Comics and DC Comics, because I read a lot of articles, like a lot of like nerd websites. But, you know, every now and again, I'll see an article that's political and it infuriates me, just because I think that people have forgotten common sense. And so when election season comes around, I'm probably gonna have to like just throw my TV and my phone away. But what sets it off, I also expect too much from people, and that disappoints me. And so I've stopped expecting things, like not expecting things, but I guess like I not expect, but I guess that sometimes I'm disappointed, right? And so that's something I'm working on, right? Like I can't be disappointed if the outcome isn't the way I expected it to be, or that I thought it was going to be. That can trigger it too. And I just put my blinders on and I do it for the agents. You know, it's like, just do it for the agents, do it for the agents, do it for the agents. And that's just basically it. And, you know, I know I'm rambling a lot.
It's all good. It's all good. So I'm going to take you back though. So we go into quarantine, you know, end of March, mid-March, whatever. How many kids you got?
I have 2. They're 7. Well, he's going to be 8 in 9 days. And then I have a 5-year-old. He just turned 5 on the 13th. So that's been hard. And my 7-year-old has Tourette's. And so we deal with that. He has very severe motor tics and vocal tics. And, you know, he's become very outspoken about it too. Like, you're like, Mommy, Daddy, I want you to record a video for me and post it on Facebook so people know what I'm going through if they need help. So he's really cool and open about that. But it's hard for him because, you know, he gets what's going on, but then you also don't want him to feel like if he goes outside, he's going to die. Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of like, you know what? I go, Levi, like, you know, we are not sick, but other people are. And so sometimes we can't go see our friends just in case. And he gets it. But, you know, when you're 7, your whole life is school and friends. Like, that's your whole entire life. Yep. And so for grown-ups, we have to remember, like, the things that matter to them don't matter to us, right? Like my 5-year-old, he doesn't give a shit. Like, you know, as long as he has his Nerf gun, you know, he doesn't care. He didn't want to go to school anyway. But my 7-year-old or 8-year-old, I mean, he loves going to school. And he misses his friends, and he gets sad, and he acts out. And we just have to remember, this isn't normal to them. Like every kid goes, I wish there was no school. Okay, now your wish came true, and they don't want the wish.
Right.
You know?
Right. So how are you guys dealing with that? Right. I mean, you're running businesses, you've got a job, how are you managing all of that?
My wife is like a total superhero. Like, I know it's really hard, you know, but I have to keep working because I got, you know, but luckily I'm home, right? So if she needs me, I can just go upstairs. Like I said, I block out, you know, times during the day where I come upstairs and play with the kids and have lunch with them. I'll take them outside. Like after this, I'll take an hour break before my 2 o'clock. We'll go outside and play have a Nerf war or something. You know, it's just the new normal for a while. Like, who knows if they're going to go back to school in the fall, right? Like, you know, he didn't get to finish 2nd grade. And, you know, I just feel bad for the people that have seniors, right? Like, they didn't get their senior year. Like, it's, you know, an article about a 12-year-old kid who committed suicide because he was so just sad, right? Like, it was this article about he lost a game in Fortnite, and that just like, it was hard. You just have to, what's important to them is important to us. And so now it's like, you know what? If they want to have freaking chocolate in the morning, I'm going to give them chocolate in the morning. Just because
I love this. I've got it. You just reminded me. We were talking on the phone, I don't know, a month ago, and it was quarantine time. And you said, wait, I got to do my order. And you were at Taco Bell, I think. And then you went somewhere else and had to stop for ice cream.
I was at Culver's. I don't know if you guys have Culver's, but it's an ice cream chain. And they have burgers, and like, listen, if my kid wants like a mint chocolate chip shake 3 times a week right now, I'm just going to give it to him because, he threw a complete tantrum, not tantrum like screaming and yelling, but it's different because he's got Tourette's. So it's like the literal end of the entire world. And I'm going to pick my battles. Right. And I want him to go up to his room and do something drastic. And so listen, if he wants ice cream shakes 3 times a week right now, I'm just going to give it to him because, there's nothing else that he looks forward to right now.
Well, and I'm actually going to say, I love that, your 7-year-old kid with Tourette's, but I think we all need to be doing that for ourselves.
Well,
Brenda Benson was on here a few weeks ago, and she said, what was the word she used? It was like impeccable self-care. If you want that extra sundae, eat it.
Right.
It's okay.
Like, the quarantine 15 is okay. But I have been, eating a few extra sun chips. Those things are so good. But then at the same time, my wife's very into fitness, and I actually went to college for exercise physiology. So like and I did own a personal training company in my early 20s. So like we have a nice big deck and we exercise on the deck. So that's good too. But I'm not like, I'm like, listen, like I'm gonna have a burger and fries tonight. Like seriously, I'm just gonna be, it's a balance, right? I'm just gonna have my wife goes, is it really, like, she's like, oh my God, like, I just want to drink wine all day. I'm like, so drink it. Like, you're not going anywhere, right? This is the only time where like it's socially acceptable. You want to drink wine all day? Just drink wine all day, right?
There you go.
But can't because we got little kids. But it's just an exaggerated, it's exaggeration of the situation that we're in now and things that are okay now that it used to be. I mean, we weren't essential until May 7th. So, agents couldn't even show houses anyway. But I just think like, it's very important to, it's very important just to realize, no one has ever, Joseph Acosta is like, that's it, opening up a beer. Good for you, Joseph.
It is 9:37 here.
Birrios for breakfast all day. So what I was going to say was it's none of us have ever been through this, right? Like in this sense where we can't leave our homes. And so what upsets me is when people, because I've seen a lot of shaming and judgment, right? And I did it a little bit at first in the beginning, but that was only like 2 weeks into it. And I had owned up to saying something that I probably shouldn't have said. But now we're 3 months into it almost, and that's difficult, right? And so
here's a rule of thumb Mark Willis told me years ago. No matter the circumstances, nothing productive will come out of shaming somebody. Because when you take somebody down to that level, which is the lowest energetic level on the energy pyramid, it's so hard for them to get out of that shame that you just created to get to courage to make something positive happen. You're actually defeating the purpose. So never, ever, ever shame.
Right. Like I didn't shame someone, but I said, hey, listen, this is like an opportunity to kind of like pick up a new skill or to, dig deeper into your business. And if you don't come out of the other end of this, like you didn't have a time management problem, you had a motivation problem or something, and people got all pissed off at me. And so then I apologized because it started to get further and further and further into the quarantine. And I think that like, it's important for us to realize everybody's in a different situation and nobody is an expert with how to deal with this, although people want to act like they are, right? So no one's ever been through this. And if an agent is afraid because they think their business is going to tank, it's not a matter of saying that's a limiting belief. It's okay. Well, listen, let's talk about other ways that you can keep your business going, and pivot with the times. Like, let's talk about, creative business strategies or creative lead generation strategies. Like, okay, you used to be a really heavy cold caller. Well, now we're going to do care calls instead. Like people like I got into business in 2007. And so I learned how to sell real estate in probably the worst economic time that I can think of. And that's how I learned. So for me, it doesn't scare me because I've been there, where a lot of agents have not been there. They've never
vast
been.
Majority, 80% haven't been through a shift.
And so to say that's limiting belief and it's a lack of motivation, the person saying that to you doesn't have a clue either. They're just making it up as they go along. And if we all make it up as we go along, but we do it together, then we're going to actually come up with a strategy, and then we can all succeed. So let's pivot here for a second.
Number one, something you've said over and over and over again, and I love it. And leaders, people who go into leadership positions don't actually usually get comfortable with asking for help. And yet you're very clear. You got the right help. You had to have reached out for it. Right. And then open yourself up to accepting the outside help. So I just wanted to make that clear. We all need to ask for help at times and be open to it.
Yes.
And then
the one thing real quick, when you're feeling like when you're in a good mood, that's the hardest time to do it because you're in a good mood. But then also when you're not in a good mood, that's also the hardest time to do it.
Yeah.
So my wife was just like, you have to go. She's like, if you don't do this, she's like, I'm just leaving. And I'm like, oh. So I asked for help and I figured it, my psychiatrist was like, your ADHD lit up the charts like a Christmas tree. Right. And so it really helped. But yes, you have to ask for help. It's hard for people in leadership positions to do that because they feel like they're being vulnerable. They feel like they're weak when in actuality, it's the complete opposite. Absolutely. Ask, like probably the strongest thing you could ever do. So.
And then since you're here and you are the tech trainer, I know for the roughly 28 people we have here, they're not all in command and using it at its highest level. Go on. I love what you and Karen are doing with Command Your Conversion. It's probably the most effective Facebook group right now, honestly, that I'm watching. But if we are stuck at home for another 2 weeks or 4 weeks, what would be the one or two things you would say nail in command? It will change your business.
Okay, hold on. Come here. He's shooting Nerf darts. This is Gus.
Hi, Gus.
So he's like, are we going to play a Nerf war? Yes, after this call's over. So the one or two things you should do in command. So right now, is there a bullet in there? No. Okay, right now, don't shoot at people. That's nice. Right now, the things you should be doing in command are, first of all, your database right now, calling people. Like you're gonna see the amount of conversations you have. Like example, when Bold Pivot started and they said they're like, okay, double down, right? Instead of 20 contacts a day, you have to make 40. And I was like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Hello, they're longer conversations now.
Right. I would almost have said like, that's why I said, I was like, that's going to be really hard because people just want to talk to other people right now, right? Although I do like the idea of it, but I think that the conversation is going to be more purposeful, right? So digging into your database and making sure people are okay and being ready for a conversation that you just be ready for a conversation, right? And just show people that you're here. Don't talk about real estate. Check in on them. That's one thing. Two, it's the perfect time to double down on Facebook lead generation. And that's because agents are back. And through command, it's to double down on command, it's pennies, right? Because the leads are so inexpensive. But the great thing about it is you're going to have a much higher contact rate with those people. Awesome. Because they're home, right? And when we're having conversations or when our ISAs are having conversations, a lot of times in the notes that they send to us, it says, this person's interested in buying. However, they're not really sure how the market's doing because of COVID. Like it almost always says that, right? Yeah. And it's such a great conversation to have. But you have to remember when you're having that conversation, you're not a doctor or a scientist. So you're not going to be giving them your opinions. You're going to give them what's happening in the market because of COVID. You're not going to say to them, oh, everything's fine and safe. You're going to say, here's how we are handling COVID when we're buying and selling homes, because people want to work with people who have a plan. So don't give them your opinion on COVID. Just give them the facts about the market in terms of COVID. And you're going to have conversations. Like, there's an agent that I'm friends with up in Canada. His name is Josh Bickle, and he's very prominent on my command group. And he's very analytical. And he's like, Nick, our contact rate has increased by 32%, and our conversation length has increased by 16%. I'm like, dude is tracking how long he's talking to people. Like, and those are Facebook conversations he's having. So database, and then new business, because agents are dialing back on that, where with command, we have the upper hand because it's so cost effective to run those ads. So I would really do those two things primarily.
Curious, I didn't know I would ask you this, but because you are so well connected with all the tech companies, what's the conversation behind the scenes with Commissions Incorporated or Boomtown or whatever? Are they threatened by command?
So, yes, because the thing with command is, and I'll be the first one to say, like, you know, even as a tech trainer, you know, command still has a lot to go, has grown. There's still some growing pains, right? But what we have to, before I explain that, we have to understand that nobody has ever built a real estate technology platform for agents at this scale, right? The largest CRM or the most widely used CRM for real estate is Follow Up Boss at about 30,000 users.
Is it really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 160,000 accounts, right? They're not all being used because most agents aren't doing business, but we have to build it if they're going to use it, right? And so it's 30,000 compared to 160 night and day. Now, the thing with Follow Up Boss is it's great for teams, but it's limited in what it does, in the sense that it's strictly a CRM and a database management. And yeah, they have some transaction management in there, but there's not a single CRM on the platform. And I think I'm insulting command when I call it a CRM. There's not a single agent operating system, like Josh calls it, that does everything command does, right? And so when you're building all of that functionality into one system, there's going to be some bumps along the way. So our companies...
you might get hit from behind, FYI. I think there's a sword.
Oh, you take that outside and do that, because you're going to hit Daddy in the head.
Maybe I should have just let it happen.
You're right. What I think is... Oh. So anyway, what companies like Boomtown are doing is they're partnering with us. That's smart, right? Companies like Commissions Inc. are not. So the ones that are partnering with us are seeing the light. Like Follow Up Boss desperately wants to partner with us. I know they've had many conversations with KW. Boomtown was the first company to sign a data pledge. And because here's the thing, Gary doesn't want, he's never said to leave your current CRM. He's never said that. And as a tech trainer, I'm focusing on the top 100 in my market. I never would say to them, leave Boomtown. I would never say to them. What I do is I take them on this 12-week transition program from their current system to their new system, and then it's up to them when they want to leave, and if they even want to leave. Sure. Because command does that can save the money in other places. You know, the marketing, the opportunity funnel, the lower cost of Facebook lead generation, all of those things that those other companies don't do. And most of the cost from Boomtown and Commissions Inc. actually does come from pay-per-click and Facebook. So, you know, one of the teams in my region pays $1,000 a month for Boomtown, but they're all in at $3,000, right? Because the rest is lead generation.
Well, so on that, and I know this is different market by market, but what would you? Gus, leave
the door open. Leave the door open, okay? He's almost done. Anyway, so say that again.
It's all good. What is a minimum weekly investment you would recommend an agent take on with Command Facebook?
All right, so I actually have, because I'm working with these agents and I want to show them what the platform does, I will run ads for them, like $10, $20. Like, I'm going to take, I go, give me one of your listeners to run an ad for you, right? Because the lead generation is really what they care about. So I ran an ad for Eric Monzo, who's the #1 agent in Michigan by units. Jeff Glover's #1 by volume. But I ran it for Eric Monzo. He did 963 units last year. It's like crazy, the amount of volume. And so I ran a $20 ad for him, and we generated 28 leads, and 2 appointments were set for $20. The dude spends $18,000 a month on Zillow. I'm like, Eric.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me say. So they set 2 appointments from a $20 ad spend.
So like
right?
$20 a week, and most of our agents could probably triple their business.
$20 a week. I say $100 a month, right? Because we're averaging about $1 a lead, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, could you imagine if you spent $25 a week and you were able to fill your database by 100 or more leads a month? Here's how I look at it, right? In my area, my team's average commission was $7,500. All we would need to do is, all my agents would need to do is close 1 deal a month at that average commission to make just shy of $100,000 more, and we would have only spent $1,200. Because if you're generating 100,
is just stupid. The ROI isn't stupid.
But if you're generating 100 and you can't close one of them, then you probably shouldn't be in real estate. But you can close 1 out of 100, and that's all you need is to get that 1 extra deal through command. So Nikki Francis, 1 Facebook post net her 23 grand.
We are Southern California, dude.
But I know, but I'm from Northern New Jersey, where my average price point was $750, so I get it, yeah. Right? But in Michigan, to have an average price point of our average price point of $244, like that's 100,000 higher than the average price point in the entire state. So when I moved here, I was like, there's no way I'm settling for a $150,000 price point. And so we went after higher price point markets, and it worked. But yeah, doubling down on that, and to double down is to go from like 20 to $40. You know what I mean? And you're going to just get so much opportunity. It's crazy.
Then it just becomes a follow-up game, right?
Yeah, then it's about follow-up. And so it's not like it's going to happen overnight. Like, you got to use the smart plans. You have to make the calls. You know, you have to provide the value, and you have to, in those follow-ups, you know, make sure that you're letting the client know what our technology does, that we have the ability to search by neighborhood, that we have a Yelp integration, that we have student-teacher ratio. You know, these things are things that we have the ability to search by a landmark because of our integration with Google Maps, where Zillow is Apple, and they don't have that. There's so much cool stuff for the consumer that we have the guide. You know, there's so much cool stuff for the consumer that the other portals don't have. And so when it comes down to it, we won the data war, and Zillow won the listing war. But at the end of the day, data is king, and that's what consumers want. Yeah. And so I always tell my agents, listen, if your clients are on your app and you're afraid that not every listing is showing up, believe me, when they start to fall in love with how deep they can go in a neighborhood, they're going to migrate to your technology no matter what. And so that's like the main point. Our value proposition isn't the listings, it's the really deep insights into neighborhoods. So yeah, all of those things, double down on your sphere of influence, double down on your Facebook lead generation, you know, pour into people, ask how they're doing, have more meaningful conversations, because when all this is over, you're going to have the best fourth quarter you've ever had. Not over in the sense that like it's going away, but over in the sense that shelter in place will be lifted and you'll have a good fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So you can make up for it that way. And I just want to reiterate. Let me
open it, see if anybody has, oh, sorry, Nick. Let me see if anybody has questions. We've got 6 minutes. Any questions, I would say, around anything? Lab coat, tech, mental health?
Mental health. You know?
Say what?
Mental health, anything you want to talk about? You know? Superheroes, we can talk about that too. I love superheroes.
Spider-Man. Yeah. Where
what you're watching?
where now that you've got some clarity, right, around what you do battle, where do you see, what's your 5-year plan for you?
Oh man. My 5-year, well, Lab Coat Agents is our long-term gain for the most part, you know. And we're
probably
doing
a good choice since it's a 7-figure business.
Yeah, so Lab Coat Agents is Lab Coat Agents is, we're working on raising some capital for that right now so we can take it to another level that we wanted to take it to before. Because I feel like there's so much money being poured into technology. There's so much money being poured into technology on the consumer side. There's not enough being poured into education for the agent side. And that's really what we're focused on, is the education and the ease of access to it. So that's, you know, that's where we would go with that, because no matter what, people are going to want the education, no matter what market we're in.
Sure.
I just, and someone asked, I'm sorry, it went up and it came and went. No, I'm not currently selling. I stopped selling real estate at the end of last year when I took on this job. I had a team in Michigan and a team in New Jersey. And then when I took this job on, I didn't want to spread myself too thin, and I want to focus on this, and I'll go back at some point. But the last time I personally sold a home was 2017, but I ran teams because I was a team, so I couldn't sell. But the thing is, and it's important to me to always go back to that because I want to be in the trenches in that aspect of it in some way, shape, or form. But where I see myself in 5 years, for me with Williams, like, this is as high as I want to go, because I don't want to go to international, because, and I've had talks about this, it would tarnish the LCA brand in terms of neutrality. Like, I work for the region, but I'm an independent contractor. But
Right.
if I went to, then it wouldn't be as neutral. So this is how I want to go in terms of the company. But with Lab Coats, that's like the long-term plan. Like, we have a lot and mapped out in terms of where we want to take that and who we want to partner with and how we want to get there. And I think that whenever there's good education and value, then you know, you really can't lose. And the influence is there, and just continue what I'm doing now, but on a broader scale in terms of like education and technology and things like that. It's funny because if someone says to me, what do you want, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I didn't see myself here in 2 years. Like, I had always said I never wanted to be a team leader, and I was, and now I'm here. No, I'm not taking bold pivot because I'm not selling homes and I'm not working. So it's like, I need to focus on the tech and the training. Not that I won't ever take it, but I'm just saying now this wasn't the time for me to do it.
So I always wrap these up by saying, you know, we lost a few here, but going on 10 o'clock in Southern California, what can we do for you? How can we help you?
That's always a really hard question for me to answer. I mean, nothing really. Like, if you're not in the Command Your Conversion group, please, Peggy's being super sweet. Thank you, Peggy. I appreciate it. If you're not in Command Your Conversion, please join it. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. And if you're not digging into Command, at least, like, go to my YouTube channel. I've got like almost 20 videos that are less than 15 minutes that really show you how to do things, how to implement really easy stuff into your business. Just go watch those and implement it, because it's really not that hard. Like a video or a landing page or a Facebook ad. I mean, even Iron Man. Iron Man is let me see, how does this work? Go. Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Just go watch a few of those videos and implement. That's all I want you to do, really. Just implement.
Awesome.
You know, like, I don't need anything from anybody. I just want you to do yourself a favor and watch a few of those videos and go do it. And I promise you, you're not going to regret it, right? Because it's there for you. You're not paying for it, and it's all 100% ROI.
And we have a little bit more time now.
Yeah, you know, learn it. that excuse, I don't have time to learn command, is not viable right now.
No, not at
That's
all.
And I also ask, if you start to implement it and you love it, please post about it on social media, because it takes a lot. You know, post your wins and show people that you're digging in, and that'll help everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. I think it's time for a Nerf war or something with Iron Man there.
Iron Man, we gonna have a Nerf war? He's crazy. You're crazy, dude. Look, show everybody how cool you are. Oh, and come save me. Please come save me.
God bless you, man.
I appreciate you guys being on. All the messages were popping up. They were super sweet. Thank you so much. And, you know, you can always reach out to me, Nick Baldwin at kw.com, if you have any questions about anything.
Thanks, man. You take care. Talk
Thanks,
soon.
Dad. All right, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.